Please don't bother trying to find her. She's not there. Well, let me tell you about the way she looked, the way she acted, the color of her hair. Her voice was soft.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Zoo Box, a podcast about nonsense, much of which you're about to hear. It's just Dan and I again this week. Mike's dealing with some family stuff, and yeah, so he might be out for a little bit. But don't worry, we're back again.
Yes, we are.
Back every day.
It's interesting to say the least.
Since 12 hours ago.
About 12 hours ago. Let's see. I watched.
No, it was about 24 hours ago. Sorry.
Whatever. I got really fucking high last night, and I watched Contact.
Nice.
Jodie Foster. Dude, that movie's pretty good, man. I'm just saying, like, it's actually really good. Jodie Foster.
Dan was crying.
I wasn't crying. I didn't. But I was just like,
father, dog.
What a great concept, though. What a great concept as far as it's Robert Zemeckis is the director. You know, didn't he direct Where's Roger Rabbit and Back to the Future?
Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Back to the Future, Forrest Gump.
Yeah, like kind of these they're iconic films, and I was kind of shocked after watching it. I was like, man, like this is not regarded as a good science fiction. This is never really.
Oh, it is.
No, but you know what? Like you don't hear it in the same way you hear about Blade Runner or.
Because that's a different kind. It's more kind of like comparison would be the one that came out a few years ago, Arrival.
Right. No,
it's more akin to like Arrival than it is Blade Runner, because that's dystopian sci-fi. That's like cyberpunk. Even that's a very niche thing. Like
no, well, it's in the science fiction world. It's held up as like a piece of art. You know, like this is a defining moment for science fiction, like Aliens.
Just because for things like Alien or Blade Runner, Blade Runner especially is the aesthetic. I mean, most people actually find that movie pretty boring, but it's such a beautiful looking movie. It's so hypnotic. I really like that movie. I don't think it's boring.
And not to mention the monologue at the end, completely improvised. It just makes it so much cooler.
The rain speech.
Yeah, so great, man. That is such a. I watched it.
Rutger Hauer.
I watched Contact, and I'll tell you this much, man. It doesn't get enough attention because it really is interesting. Because this movie kind of starts out in a typical, college student who's a genius, basically is shut down from doing her research because it's just it's nonsense, and she convinces basically this rich guy to fund. It's like the end of the road. You can't get any funding to do this particular research, and then it says like 4 years later, and we're gonna shut you down.
And we're gonna shut. Doesn't she have like all these satellites and shit too?
Yeah. It's like because that's what
I love it. Back then, in the mid to late '90s, everybody just assumed that the audience understood what like a UFO monitoring facility was. Like, there's one in Independence Day, there's one in Contact. Like, the guys that sit in the trailer, and they're like, oh, look! You hear that, bro?
Yeah.
And they're always, playing putt-putt or something.
Yeah. They're always
Hawaiian shirts. They're always, it's in every fucking movie. I think it's even in Contact. It's almost exactly that.
No, well, because they're in Puerto Rico, though, so at least...
No, but there's like 15 movies from, like a 3-year period that all have that element.
It's literally like The Core... Like it's something similar where it's like it's always the scientist, that figures shit out there like a bunch of slobs. It's super late at night.
And they have to call somebody, and then they call the main character, and they wake him up in the middle of the night or her. Sexist.
Right.
And then they rush down there and they say, "Have you seen this data? You ever seen anything like this in your entire life? Oh my god! I thought this was only theoretical."
Well, what I like about the film. Mainly it's tension, the building, the tension, like how they build, like when she first hears the sound or whatever.
Got a great mystery structure, and it's kind of like giving you a little bit of information here and there.
Yeah.
And a lot of people back when I remember when it came out, and I was pretty young, and I was talking to a guy, he must have been like 15 or 16, and I was like 11 or 12 when it came out. And he was like, it was really good, but the ending was so stupid, dude. So fucking stupid. This guy also did not like the cable guy. So you can't trust.
well, yeah, you can't trust him.
Can't trust them.
He
I know
sucks.
people don't like the cable guy, but they're wrong.
I've always liked the cable guy.
So have I. But, yeah.
I'm just saying, go give it a shot, though, people. Or if you've watched it, let me know what you think, because I enjoyed it. The ending, I actually thought
I liked it. It makes sense.
it does make sense, but oh man, I don't want to ruin it. I don't want to get spoil it.
Dude, it's
Someone
a 25-year-old.
I know, but it's still, it's like it's something I would rather there's people that listen to this that haven't seen it.
That's true.
Let people go enjoy it. But I'll tell you this much: you got Matthew McConaughey with the sickest hair.
Young Matthew McConaughey. It's only his third or fourth movie. Third or fourth.
This is right after I think U-571 or
Well, he
somewhere
did
around there.
A Time to Kill. No, it was before U-571. That was 2000. So he did A Time to Kill, Dazed and Confused. Maybe Dazed and Confused was his first one. A Time to Kill was the one that he blew up. It's like Sandra Bullock, Kevin Spacey, Samuel L. Jackson. A bunch of hillbillies kill Samuel L. Jackson's daughter,
What was that
goes
Kevin
after
Spacey one? The fuck was we the alien?
Oh, K-Pax.
K-Pax, dude.
Remember Jeff
Bridges? Yes. Dude, Jeff Bridges, most underrated movie ever is Arlington Road. I still think that movie fucking sick.
It was coming off of, that was after Timothy McVeigh.
Oklahoma City.
And then they kind of just tapped into the fear that people had at the time. It was made a few years later. I think it came out 98 or 99. It tapped into suburban paranoia about terrorism, homegrown terrorists. Yeah,
I'm really interested to see what the next because you go back, you watch all these classics, all these movies have especially in cinema, they use real world things to inspire them. So terrorists or what's another theme? Aliens have always been a big thing. Terrorists, natural world-ending disaster movies is really big for a while.
You wanted me to freak you out a little bit?
Sure.
Okay. It's called predictive programming, Dan. So you have you have the 80s and 90s. You have movies that are all about domestic terrorists constantly. Tom Clancy's huge. Fucking, all of things like you just said, Arlington Road, all that stuff. And then 9/11 happens. And then now we're getting into this era now of homegrown terrorism being the greatest threat in the world.
But like you said, the Arlington Road and a lot of that stuff was inspired by, I don't think people remember how crazy it was in the 60s and 70s with the Weather Underground and they were bombing government buildings.
No, I'm being facetious when I say
that. I know you are, but I'm saying that was a part of the lexicon at the time, that type of...
Yeah, people have a short memory, and then it only takes 20 years before people make a documentary romanticizing something awful that happened. When they make all of these glowing docs and articles about the Weather Underground 40 years later, that's like somebody making a documentary about Timothy McVeigh and being like, he was doing what he had to do.
Yeah. He's just fighting for justice, which Timothy McVeigh was inspired by Ruby Ridge and Waco. Right.
Also, but there's a lot of evidence pointing that he was
coerced.
He was an asset, basically.
I don't know.
All the LSD trials he was involved with in college and stuff. You can go read. You can find it online. You can read his manifesto. I think it's 50 or 60 pages.
That's pretty.
It's all about his kind of fear of futurism and transhumanism, about men people kind of becoming dependent on technology and machines and blah 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 and cell phones and all that stuff.
God, that's some fucking what's the other dude? The bombing guy.
The bombing?
The guy that lived in a shack in Montana. The fucking famous. He was mailing bombs to people.
Oh yeah.
The Unabomber.
Unabomber, yeah.
I can't remember his name right now, but the guy was a genius. I guess his manifesto it's a couple hundred pages. It's a good couple hundred pages.
Yeah.
And people have said that a lot of the things that he talked about have come true.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think he really wrote that, or did the CIA put that out?
I don't know. Maybe.
Huh?
Maybe.
Think about it, guys.
It is. I went back and I for probably the umpteenth time and went and started listening to Alex Jones Returns, the Joe Rogan episode. I don't know why. That is probably the best episode of a podcast ever recorded. It is pure and classy and and debauchery. It's everything. It's just
it is the quintessential like Alex Jones experience.
Yeah,
it's everything.
The one with Tim Dillon is fun, but
it's like the real. No, those ones it never recaptured that. Like
it's so
manic,
hard.
crazy energy where he was kind of allowed to just like go wide open.
He was tapped in though. Like he was really.
Well, that's what he said.
It.
He was. What was he? Did he say he's decompartmentalizing and he's like this is gonna be studied for years.
Yeah. Well, he's like listen, man. He's like, when you get in that psychosis, you get the Gulf of Tonkin, you get like all. No, but
it's true though. It's true. There's so much stuff, and then once you become like all you do is research the possibility of it happening again, how do you not see it everywhere?
Well, it's like I see it in reflections in like Tim Pool and these commentators. They start going, wait, what? Like, wait, what?
So like, they question everything, and I think what can get away with people is like misinterpreting an event as malicious rather than just ignorance or just stupidness or laziness, incompetence. Like, yeah. And they'll read malice into it. They'll read like ill intent, where I don't think it's always like that, but I'm also a person, I'm very cynical. So I always err on the side of like, oh, somebody knows what's going on. I don't know who it is, but
I think it really comes down to is like how, like, so me and my buddy were arguing, it's like, how did they keep the Manhattan Project secret for so long? How did they do that? And that was because, most likely, because you had whole towns. Like, you had a town built around the Manhattan Project. Mm-hmm. Everybody in the town knew what was up, but no one talked about it. It never really got out of the town. Because, patriotism. Well, it was. No, that's exactly what it was. It was they thought they were working towards the greater good, and that they would rather finish the technology first than someone like the Russians, because they knew all these people that were involved in Operation Paperclip. They understood the Russians picked up just as many scientists as they did, and people that worked for the Nazi regime. So there was definitely a competition in the birth of the atomic age. That's where you start seeing all this. Aliens were never really thought of. I mean, no, they were thought of. But that was the first time when you hear about Roswell and it became mainstream, I guess. Like
yeah, because there was a way for them to hide their secret projects.
Well, no, this is the thing, though.
Somebody might have saw something and they're like, shit. And then they literally just play into what was kind of folklore. I mean, you got to even think of like pulp magazines and the kind of stories people read, like for entertainment, War of the Worlds, the radio show, H.G. Wells, the book. Mm-hmm. Like, that was a topic in mainstream society in terms of entertainment, and they bridge those gaps. So everybody's already kind of primed a little bit. The pump has been primed a little bit for people to be like, oh, I know about aliens. I didn't think they were, but wow, like I know about them though. And then they make that association, and it makes a lot of people just kind of give over to it.
Well, when it comes to the Roswell stuff, I'm not super intimately involved with the facts of the case. But there is something to be said about the rise of the atomic age and then the suspicion of aliens. Because I think it really comes down to, like, look at an atomic weapon, an atomic bomb, or a nuclear weapon. The amount of destruction that one of those things can cause, it's almost unbelievable. I mean, it's incredible to think that they can get a little uranium, whatever, and then a little atom, and like, you know what I mean? Like, it's incredible. It's however they fucking do it. It's one of the most magnificent, terrible things we've ever created. So there needs to be recognition that I think that if aliens were messing around with humans and having at least a watching eye on people, the moment we reached the atomic age, they knew that's where things drastically changed. Because if you go based off of like Graham Hancock believes that there had been advanced human civilizations prior to, which there was
that's when he brings in that other guy when they talk about all the flooding.
Right, but there is a, I can't remember where it is, but it's like 12,000. It's pretty recent discovery. It's like 12,000 years old.
Oh,
And
it's something. It's like Pika Paku or something like. Yeah, it's something.
Mount
Didn't he?
Pikachu.
Didn't he like argue with the guy from Skeptic magazine about that on Joe
I think
Rogan?
so.
Actually, it was actually a great episode, and the Skeptic guy kind of got BF back the fuck out, man.
Are you
'Cause he
talking
just-
the famous one where Joe Rogan's like, "Oh, you called me a conspiracy theorist"? Is that the
No,
guy?
no. That's the scientism guy or the science journalist guy.
Yeah.
What the hell? It's a very entertaining episode.
That moment is awesome.
But no, it was Graham Hancock and what's his name? Oh God, the guy he's the editor-in-chief of Skeptics magazine. He's been on Joe Rogan a ton. But him and Graham Hancock did a Michael Shermer. It was Michael Shermer and Graham Hancock, because obviously Michael Shermer, and he had written about that he thought Graham Hancock was full of shit.
Yeah.
So they had a talk. Michael Shermer clearly not prepared for the conversation, like kind of arrogant, and he came in and kind of just had a lot of basic information wrong, which calls into question his credibility because he was just kind of arrogant about it.
Right.
Kind of the same way when that guy who was like a health author, a health writer.
Oh, and the Game Changer guy, the vegan documentarian.
Yeah, the vegan guy, and the guy blew him the fuck out. He couldn't even read studies correctly. Like, that's a pretty big revelation. If you're out making claims, I'm not even saying that guy was wrong. I'm not even saying he was wrong in principle.
Yeah.
But he lost all credibility because he couldn't identify or talk about very basic things in the research, and I'm like, how can you take that guy's word now? Like, you can't.
Yeah, well, he hasn't been back on Joe Rogan.
That would be a career-ruining moment for somebody like that. Their entire industry is built on, like, refuting claims like the Vegan Gains guy or whatever his name was made. Like, that's his entire thing. He wrote a book about it. You know, it's not a good look, I would say.
No. It was like Naomi Wolf. She used to be a third-wave feminist type woman.
Yeah, she's a writer. She's notorious for being like batshit crazy.
Well, she wrote this whole book, right? I don't remember what it was about, but it was very specific about.
Oh, it was about death sentences, right?
Yeah, it was about death sentences.
Yeah,
and there was something that was like a very big error.
She made a wild claim, I think, about like kind of connecting it to. I want to say it was racism?
It was something to do with I think race on some level.
She made a giant claim, and then the guy who was interviewing her fact-checked her work before he interviewed her, and she came on this radio program and blew up her argument on on the radio. Yeah, but she had been known for. She's kind of like Hannah Nicole Jones and stuff like that. Like, didn't she write the
1619
Project? She was kind of that kind of writer for a long time, and now she's a anti-COVID person, like
anti-lockdown,
anti-vaccinations. I'm not saying she's wrong or whatever. I'm just saying, but she does have like a history of being wrong and kind of going on wild tangents and making shit up and.
Well, making shit up or just assuming, presuming for something to be true.
Sure.
So I was listening to this debate with these critical race theorists versus, I think it was Carlin Barcinko, Gothics, and this guy named Christian. It's pretty incredible how. Because one guy was like a PhD, working on his PhD. The other dude's working on his master's or something in education. So by the typical, established terms that we have agreed that they are not dumb people. They're at least educated, right? These are not ingrates or whatever. You really, their ideology, like, is so fucking absurd. It is so absurd. Because there are two white guys talking to two black people and a white woman, right? And this is like all this stuff about critical theory. It's like, who the fuck are you to open your fucking mouth? By critical theorists, you should shut the hell up. And it is absolutely true.
No, because like being a particular skin, this is not an argument for critical race theory. What I'm saying is, being a particular skin tone or whatever doesn't give you like you're not doesn't make you right or have more of a right to say something. If you're talking about things that you think are objective, sociological, these things have been studied, we're representing the evidence that we are purporting to be the truth.
But
it doesn't matter.
But when you go back to Marcuse, like when they developed this out of the College of Frankfurt or whatever, like this was developed off of Freudian theory and Marx theory. This is 100% race based. It is.
No, I'm not.
Your opinion is
yeah.
No. I know you specific. I'm just saying, but these guys, if you actually look into some of the deeper stuff about the critical race theory, and it is dictated by what race you are. It's like Ibram X. Kendi and D'Angelo White they're like the establishment version of CRT. Like they're like not,
yeah, I know.
The name all, like when you start reading about like whiteness is a sin. It's a parasitic syndrome.
Oh, that's
view it.
Different. Yeah, it was a different white guy. That was a recent paper.
Right, but that guy is the teacher of one of these kids. So
yeah, no, and I understand that. But what I'm saying is, if you're in a debate and you're having an academic conversation, I'm not saying that what they believe is correct, but they are presenting the argument as it has been presented to them. So it's not like their opinion. And I don't think we should get into what other people do, because that would be a tactic somebody would say. Like, so if you're a person that disagrees with critical race theory and you're a white person, they would say, "Oh, shut the fuck up! You don't have any right to speak on this."
I understand,
and I won't play that game with those guys.
But what I'm saying is, if they're on the basis that our entire society is fundamentally built on white supremacy and institutionalized racism. That's basically critical race theory, but it's a sociological event as well. It's not just a infrastructure or whatever you want to say of our system. That it's like white people are born with original sin.
They've taken a religious angle on it for sure.
Right. Yes, but by their own standards, by them arguing with a person of color, like they are white supremacists by their own.
Because anybody can serve whiteness. Anybody is susceptible to whiteness. White people are just more susceptible. No. So if you're talking to a black person that is like, what I guess colloquially people would say is a slur, they call them Uncle Toms or whatever, like, self-loathing black people, whatever. That's what they would call them. That's what they do call them.
Or Africans,
see a lot of those people.
Or black Africans from Africans. They are viewed as, who is it? Tariq Nasheed stated it, which he is either the biggest, like sometimes he calls out it's like the weirdest guy. He is the weirdest guy.
He's a contrarian. He's a troll. I mean,
but then there's also he's made his new film Buck Breaking.
I know. I have a copy of it.
Oh, do you? I haven't watched it yet.
Somebody uploaded it to YouTube. I got alerted to it. They say, "Hey, man, you might want to grab a rip of this before somebody takes it down." So I did.
Yeah, good deal. We have to send it to me, or we can watch it or something.
Sure, we can watch it. You have.
Yeah, I think we should, and then put it up on Odyssey.
Yeah.
But there is something. What did he say? He goes, Africans are, because in their culture, like the lighter skin you are, like the more beautiful you are and whatever. So they view themselves like it's just like this, like it's because in that country it's a rarity to have lighter skin, so it's like a beauty thing.
It's more of it's an exception to the rule.
Yeah. Basically. Well, it's like when overweight people used to be attractive.
You find that's true. Like it was attractive for women to be plump because it meant they were healthy and they could bear children and stuff. Yeah. But I think any culture, any society finds a way to find a hierarchy, a structure, and a way to value things on superficial basis. And sometimes that manifests in very negative ways. It can. I think all cultures do that. I think America, for all of its faults, has probably come the farthest away from that in the past 100 years.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, in terms of just moving past that kind of paradigm.
It's funny because the critical theorists believe in separation of races.
I know. That's what's so backwards about it. And that's because it all springs. It's so like, you know, and I would say we've mentioned this before. This guy James Lindsay, he does a bunch. Don't go to his Twitter. Just go find his podcast, New Discourses.
Yeah, new discourses.
And he goes through the history of it, and you can fact check him and you can look it up for yourself. But he makes a compelling argument because it's so pernicious and it goes really far back. And a lot of this, and then there's all this stuff that was being pushed into the black communities with like the Muslim Brotherhood, and they're all connected to it about this segregationist attitude. I mean, even somebody
Nation of
like
Islam, dude.
the Nation of Islam. I mean, even up until the end of his life, you know, Malcolm X was a complete segregationist. He totally drank the Kool-Aid on that shit.
Until the last
2 years of his life,
8 months,
he went to Mecca. Is when he went to Mecca. He made a pilgrimage. I actually just rewatched the movie Malcolm X. So I watched Spike Lee, and when he went to Mecca, Malcolm X saw like people of all different walks of life and colors and creeds, and they were all at Mecca, kind of doing the same thing he was doing, and it was kind of an eye-opening moment for him, and he kind of thought about what he was doing and how that you actually need to come together with everybody to really make a change, because there's not enough. If you're just going to be insular and just only deal with black people, there's not going to be enough people to actually affect real change.
Yep. Yeah, and then he got killed for it.
Kind of. Well, yeah, it was partially for that, but it was also because of the internal politics of the Nation
he
of
was
Islam.
Creating his own branch or whatever.
Well, because everybody got jealous of him because he was so popular, and the guy
and they tried to make him take a back seat.
Yeah. So it was.
Is Louis Farrakhan in that movie?
Very briefly, yeah.
Is he supposed to be like they represent him somehow?
I believe so. Yeah, I think he is. I mean, he was there. I mean, people say that he was involved in it, but he said he says he wasn't. He says he wasn't. But
of course they were. And the FBI was probably thankful for it, so they left him alone.
I was watching interviews with Spike Lee because I just uploaded. It's on Odyssey. It's blocked on YouTube for the time being. I have a big long review rather of Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing. So I was watching a bunch of interviews, and I watched some other Spike Lee movies for preparation, and he talked to Louis Farrakhan, and Louis Farrakhan was like, no, he's like, I might have contributed to the climate of the time, but no, I didn't have anything to do with it. And Spike Lee's like, good enough for me. You're so come on, Spike.
Spike is probably a supporter of Nation of Islam. Ice Cube and all those guys are.
Spike is, but he won't be Muslim. It's like one of these things that I talk about on the podcast. It's like when you don't have like groups or representation, you just kind of have to take what you have.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of just like
it's just this critical race theory stuff. I think Florida just signed a law, not outright banning it, but you can't teach it to kids. Like you can't teach certain sects and tenets of the faith to children, and it's become a religion because it's not based in reality. It's and that's the whole point of critical theory.
Well, it's an overcorrection in a way that ends up being very negative, and then it kind of discredits, and you lose credibility because you're like, is there things to talk about? Could we address some certain things, inequities and whatnot? Probably.
No.
But when you're that fucking crazy, about it, like people don't have those conversations. They don't. Why would you? You're just alienating people, and it's weird. It's like this weird submissive culture that they want to create, and
But we did it already. We did it.
Did what?
We did it. Like, is it perfect? Like, are people still feeling some setbacks in certain communities or certain areas of the country? Yes. But it's done. It's over. You have to move on from it. They're holding on to race they can't let go.
No, they need to. I wish that, the black community,
issue.
And it's something that's like I think it's more of a class issue at this point. But they need to hold their leadership accountable and start asking questions about why they are in the circumstances they are, why this was developed in the first place, and get woke in that way, and find a way through it, and not be angry about it.
I think we just need to start claiming language back and refuse to use their terminology.
Yeah, I don't. That's kind of
like you're gonna talk to me about fucking birthing people. Go shut your fucking mouth. And go sit in your fucking little pissant corner while I say, "Oh, she gave birth." I'm not gonna play these. This is what Hegel wrote about with dialectics. Like it's like all fucking junk. It's junk. They just take these fucking words and they reclaim them. They own them now.
Yeah,
It's like,
because it's about submissive culture. They want a culture of submission. It's just like if they know if they just beat you over the head with it, like a lot of people just give in. That's usually how it goes. Unfortunately. And if they can get it into the popular culture where you're inundated with it day in, day out, from the time you're 4 years old to the time you're 50, to the time you're 60, every movie you see, every TV show you watch, every song you listen to incorporates it some way, every commercial, it's impossible to get away from for most people, you know? Well, unless you really unplug from the internet and cable and sports and everything. It's involved in everything. It's infested everything. So,
well, that's why we have to take these institutions back, and by force, and like by legitimate force, and like in coercion. Like the worst thing, and I think a lot of criticism. The older Republicans don't know how to organize. Young Republicans do. Young Republicans are getting really good at organizing and creating, like Turning Point USA. They have a women's division now. These are basically every major college. Conservative groups are becoming more and more because they find ways to organize, and that's something that the younger generation of Republicans are getting good at.
I mean, they're always those kind of clubs have always been there. Are they just bigger than they have been in the past, maybe?
Well, I mean, I never heard of Turning Point USA before 2014.
No, but there was always like the Young Republicans and stuff like that.
Right,
that stuff's been around forever, you know?
Yeah, but this is
never
this
as
is
aggressively because Turning Point USA became a little mini industry. Honestly, and there's a guy I listen to all the time who criticizes like his peers, like the guys that are middle-aged guys that write about politics, conservative writers. He's like, you guys traded colleges for cruise ships. He's like, you guys should have been at colleges. Like, you should be talking to college kids, not talking to 50-year-old boomers that read your blog.
But they are. Like Charlie Kirk and these guys. Candace Owens.
I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about
like Matt Walsh?
The old guard. No, not necessarily. No, Matt Walsh and them, because that's, Ben Shapiro, they were smart enough that they like, oh no, we need to insert ourselves in colleges. Yeah. That's why they're making movies. That's why they're doing there's a lot of conservative writers, the conservative intelligentsia of the right. A lot of people that you probably don't even know their names, because like David French or Jonah David Goldberg, Stephen L. Miller, fucking, I don't know. There's a lot more. A lot of people I can't name off my dome, but they don't cater to. They're not trying to educate a new generation. They kind of just give up on it, and they only want to talk to each other. And that's the problem. Like if you're out there trying to like espouse the virtues of conservatism and you want to actually convert people over to your side, you have to go out and make the argument to the people that need to hear it. You don't. Maybe a 50-year-old guy needs to hear it a lot less than a 22-year-old kid. Like that's just I agree. If you want to win hearts and minds. You got to do the work, and they don't. So that's why people like Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens, even the Daily Wire people, that opened up a lane. That was an underserved demographic, and that's why they're so popular, because they're the only ones doing it, and there's no alternative. Like if you're a right-leaning kid in college, there is nothing else. There's fucking nothing else. That's why they're so big, you know?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, though, I don't think these, just because they're unique, that's the reason they exist. You have the Young Turks. You have people like that. Like that, to me, is proof that is a small number of people. Like something like the Young Turks existing.
Young Turks were very... You got... Look, you don't remember...
I'm talking about today. I'm not talking about
I understand
10 years ago.
But they did the work. They did that work, and now they are like the middle-aged conservative people that only talk to each other. Right. But there was a time that the Young Turks were very effective. They were very popular. Everybody liked the Young Turks because they were left-leaning, but they were more to the center of the left. Mm-hmm. There was a period of time where it was like that. They were much more like liberal in the classical way to put it. It wasn't until like 2014, 2015 they started going crazy. Like,
but that's my point, is that they represent now. I'm not talking about what they did before. They represent now a very small percentage, a very small portion of people.
Until the next election cycle, yeah, and then people start paying attention again.
Maybe not. I don't know. I don't really see them in the future. I don't see them being around in 30 years. Like Ben Shapiro will be around in 30 years. Like he will be an establishment, like more so than like he won't be on the fringe. He's not going to be a fringe guy. Like Ben Shapiro will be on Fox, have his own television show, that type of thing. Or Daily Wire will have their own channel.
They'll have their own network. That's what they're doing. That's what they're trying to build. Yeah.
Right. So like that's going to be way more culturally significant. I just don't see that with the Young Turks.
Well, the Daily Wire is interesting because they are kind of like a modern version of the Young Turks in terms of their model. Like the Young Turks were doing that, but they just started doing that in like 2008. You know, like they just started a long time before them because they were a lot more like that. And there was something that you wanted to kind of root for them in a weird way because they were kind of outside of the system a little bit, even though however much Cenk Uygur really desperately wants to be inside of it. He just wants to so bad, and he thinks just like yelling and being a maniac is his way in.
Maybe
like a shockingly dumb person. Shocking, like him and Anna Kasparian. It is shocking how irresponsible they are.
I don't think it's they're dumb. I just don't think they're lazy. It's not even. Is it laziness? They just are selective. They selectively choose what they.
They're literally the people that read a headline and then react to it, and that's what they're reacting to. They don't even like get into the story.
Like I said, I don't watch. I don't know.
I used to watch the Young Turks, occasionally just for whatever, a counter programming, and yeah, I can't even do it anymore.
Alex Jones has been the only one tried and true for his entire time. But
Alex Jones, good example. He's another guy that started off very much like the Young Turks. Like I said, actually, we talked about it on Zoobox Live last night. They were kind of contemporaries for a while, and Cenk Uygur used to be on Alex Jones' show. I think Alex Jones was on the Young Turks a couple times.
Which is, pretty interesting. Listening to Alex Jones Returns for the second time, or 50th time, whatever. But recently, he really isn't politically anything. Like, he is pretty whatever. He doesn't, like, when he went after Bush, he was going after Bush hard. Like, it wasn't because Bush was a Republican. He didn't try to protect him.
Well, he was like anti-authoritarian.
Well, anti-power.
I would say Trump was kind of a huge turning point for him as a broadcaster, whatever you want to call him, because he went full on the hog with that.
But the thing is, like, the thing with Trump, was Trump the earthquake or was Trump the tremor? Before the earthquake, like was Trump really this defining moment that, like, okay, now the establishment has its seat of power back and it's not giving it up, or is Trump himself a part of the elite? I
think he is. I mean, I think he's. Like, because people want to paint him like, oh, he really started something. He woke a lot of people up. People are way more activated now. I think that stuff's kind of true. But also, you could view him as a control mechanism as well. He was allowed to have that position, allowed to fail in a myriad of ways. I know he did a lot of good things, but a lot of the major things I think people wanted him to do. Was there a lot of movement on stuff? I mean, I don't know.
Well, I guess like what? What's something that you think...
Like surveillance state stuff.
Fair enough.
What else? I mean, that's the thing that comes off.
Yeah, but like
my head, like there was he had a couple years to really get some stuff done.
But no, he didn't. He didn't though. He didn't have a couple years. Ryan, Shaun, they spent 2 years on a witch hunt, like going after him in every single way politically with the intelligence agencies.
They kept doing it too. I mean,
no, I know, but the main thing is he was politically hamstrung. Like, he couldn't do anything.
Well, every president has to deal with shit like that. I mean,
no, not like that, Shaun.
Not being able to get things done. I mean, that's the whole work, is trying to figure out how to in that climate. I mean, yeah, like you said. I mean, I think he had. I guess, I don't know what you'd call it, the shadow government, the state, deep state?
No, the bureaucracy.
The bureaucracy, people that felt slighted in the intelligence community because he didn't value them. He wasn't impressed by them just because they existed, and that rubbed them the wrong way. And he just his way of speaking and his attitude, it probably rubbed them the wrong way. They're used to a certain type of decorum. That's what they want. They like the pageantry of their job and their position. Makes them feel important.
The question is this: so, do you feel like the entire RussiaGate thing was just a way? So that was all bullcrap.
It was just obfuscation. It was just
because like if you're saying,
muck up the waters.
If Trump is a plant, right, or whatever, like this is the intention is to make roughly, I don't know, 70 million people distrust you, and to make you think that the FBI and the CIA are like failures in the eyes of the American people and how they spy and they do all these things.
Because it's created a fissure within the American people. Like, it really has nothing to do with how people feel about the establishment. They're still there, and they still operate, and it doesn't really matter what you and I think. Unfortunately, doesn't really fucking matter. They don't give a shit. But me and you, well, the proverbial you, like the people out there in the world, we've never been more like contentious with each other about things that, I don't know, shouldn't really be that big of a deal. We can't actually come together as like a people and try to take back our country in some sort of coherent fashion. It's all these little pockets everywhere of people trying to figure it out themselves. There's not a lot of unity. There's not a lot of like cooperation.
Take our country back from whom?
The bureaucrats, the intelligence communities. Maybe they have a lopsided amounts of power,
Well, how do you take it back?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. That's the question. How do you take it back? But I think people have to collectively come together and like with a singular voice to do it, whatever it is.
Right.
Whether that's like, gaming the voting system in a way to get, people in there, no matter what side of the aisle are on, that, you need to get like left and right leaning Rand Pauls up in there, like all over the place. You gotta have more people like that, or Joe Manchin even, right? And that's the guy who's like, hey, I have what I believe and I'm not going to go against it just because you don't like it. And I have my constituency and this is why
he's in a purple state. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's playing the game, but it ends up being a good thing.
Well, that's what the whole point.
But he's held accountable to a coherent voice that's like, this is what we want you to do.
Right.
I don't think a lot of people have that. I don't think a lot of people are beholden to that. Many of these people in office are legacy people. Been there forever. They've just been holding these positions. They get voted in every 2 to 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it never changes. These people are 100 fucking years old.
Dianne Feinstein's old as fuck, yeah.
She's like 80-something years old. What's her name? Nancy Pelosi's in her 80s. She's
70s, 80. Yeah. She's like late 70s, yeah.
No, dude, I think she's 80.
Is she 80?
Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House. How old is she? 81 years old.
God damn. Do you know what they were talking about? I heard a rumor, not a rumor, like an idea. Someone's put up the proposition. Have Trump run for the House in Florida, get voted in as
to
the
be
speaker.
Yeah,
and then Ron DeSantis run for the president with Tulsi Gabbard or some maybe other centrist left-leaning person.
Break the paradigm.
Like that would be the funniest fucking shit ever. Could you imagine?
Ron DeSantis ain't running with Tulsi Gabbard, but
you never know.
He's a company. I think he's a company guy. I mean, he's doing well by his state, right? Like that's what's important because he feels he'll be held accountable. The constituency, they like what he's doing for the most part, it seems like, or at least a majority does. So that puts him in good position. And then the rest of the country looks at him and be like, man, I wish I had a governor like you.
Because that's how you become president.
That's how you know he's going to run for president, is because of how aggressive he's being. Like, he's being just very aggressive.
Yeah, he's like, fuck it, sign everything. Let's fucking go. Yeah.
He's fuck like, whatever. We'll just go.
Trans kids, fuck them. Like.
Yeah, he's just like every
immigrants, fuck them. Like this, like all this shit.
It's like on Fox News. He's like calling everybody's bluff. He's like, "Oh, you really want to do this? Let's fucking go. Everything you guys talk about, we're gonna
grab
do."
By the balls and run.
Some people love it.
Ex-Navy guy, I think. He's got some interesting background.
He's got that Trumpish quality to him, like, except he's just more eloquent.
Yeah, he's more reserved.
He knows how to handle himself a little bit better.
And he doesn't like do the typical Trump thing, like, why would you ask that question? Why do you like, why are you so mean to me, basically?
Oh, he kind of does sometimes because he's like, you have a narrative. I know what you're doing. This is what it is.
Yeah,
You're
but
just gonna write whatever
he's
you want.
pointing out, like he's literally going like point by point.
No, that's what I'm saying. He's more eloquent about it. Trump would do the same thing, but not be able to get it out coherently. It's all
You're
broken
trash.
sentences. Yeah.
Your ratings are in the gutter. I know what you're doing.
Failing
I'm
New
the
York
best.
Times.
I'm the best. You're the worst. Look, the light's going off. The light's off. You see that? They every time. Like I don't know. He's interesting, but I think it would be funny to see Nancy Pelosi get removed from the Speaker of the House with Trump being put in as Speaker of the House, because that would be a really powerful position for him. He would wield incredible power in the House.
He's got to get there.
He would get there. Are you kidding? In Florida, Shaun?
Be the Speaker of the House?
He would get, yes, Shaun.
Maybe, I don't know.
You know what would happen if he won a House seat and then the Republicans didn't vote for him to be put as Speaker of the House? They would be fucking crushed.
Maybe, theoretically.
Like, it would be, they let him do a couple years, they just, you'd be fine. Be ripping. Yeah. I don't know. I would rather see Trump in the Speaker of the House position just because it'd be just funny. It would just be great.
Yeah, because, what do they do?
Because, like, the Speaker of the House has an immense amount of power. All they do is
talk shit. Well, they have a lot of power over their own people, their own party.
No, they have an immense amount of power. No, like an immense amount of power. They control the security at the Capitol. They are in charge of, like, everything that happens.
Security at the Capitol?
Yep.
Oh, my God.
That's one of the big like Nancy
revelation.
Pelosi denied supposedly Capitol Police reinforcement or the National Guard, and then Mayor Bowser also did the thing.
Let them eat cake.
Well, I saw like Dr. Shiva put out a video. He's a fucking
who?
Dr. Shiva, dude. MIT, like 2 degrees from MIT. He's like this super smart guy. He put out this new video, and it's like, is Trump part of the swamp? And it's like this 5-minute thing where
is Trump the swamp? Only you can decide.
Yeah, and he's basically saying Trump is the swamp. He's moved on from Q, I guess.
Was he a Q guy?
Yeah, there's definitely some Q sentiments.
He's like my old boss on Facebook. Well, isn't that fucking interesting? Like, that's all he would write. Like, okay. Like, he was literally, because back in 2016, 2017, I just Facebook stalked him one time and just looked at like his posts for the past 4 years. Obviously a Trump dude, which is weird because this is the cult of personality with Trump, because my old boss was not like a right-wing guy. He wasn't. Not really. About certain things he was, but like not really. Mm-hmm. And then he went full on the hog for Trump, though. And the Q stuff, it was just so funny. Isn't that fucking interesting? Just hear his voice. Hear his dumb voice saying it. I can imagine working with him and him showing it to me on his phone. Something to think about.
Well, I mean, it is. But the question is, when you look at the January 6th riot, I mean, it is fucking weird. Like, it's too... How do you not... Is that incompetence? Like, do you think that was just all incompetence and hubris, that they really didn't think people would do that?
I think part of it was. I don't think they thought that crowd would do that. They had never done anything like that before. That's why it casts weird.
Shaun, you had military occupation at the Capitol for months.
I know.
After that, doesn't that kind of look like a coup?
It's like, well, I guess. I mean, well.
No, like, think about it. We know that the election did some funky stuff, some funky sauce. There's some funky sauce, Ocean 11, whatever, some funky sauce. All the way, like, every part of the establishment failed them. It failed, like, on every level. Like, it really did. Like, there is no doubt. They literally just changed, I think it was in Pennsylvania, that, like, they changed the law. They're like, no, you can't just, the governor or the secretary of state just can't do, like, it was already written in the law. You can't just change election law. Like, you just can't do that. So, it's fucking hilarious.
Apparently you can if nobody's really paying attention.
But you look at the whole thing. That's a long con to me. Like, It looks like a long con. Like you're like, oh well, because everybody hated Trump in the establishment. No one really liked the guy. No one wanted him in for a second time around, especially when you know it's going to be a second term, which means he's going to go buck fucking wild. The Russia fucking shit didn't work. You know, the Ukraine shit didn't work. The two impeachments, it's like, dude, have you ever seen a political candidate, political president, whatever you want to call it, someone in politics at this mainstream level get just like it was a giant operation from the media to the judicial system to like now like look at the election audits and all this weird stuff. Like why are these the DOJ came out today and we're like we are going to ensure like basically threatening states if they can go forward with these audits like Wisconsin, Pennsylvania's trying to do one, Georgia's trying to do one, that the DOJ is going to come stop it.
Are they saying they're going to stop it or that they just don't care? The results are not going to change anything.
Well, Merrick.
I mean, because they're basically, from what I understand, at least this is what I've kind of gathered, is that there is no real mechanism for reinstitution, so it doesn't matter if they find them.
No, it's not the
it's past the point of no return.
Merrick, no, because this is an official result. It's certified. There's nothing you can do to change that under the Constitution, unless Nicolas Cage and his team get together, and then maybe we'll find out. Maybe wouldn't that be sick? If season 3 or like their season that they're going to do before they make the third movie for Disney Plus is literally Nicolas Cage trying to find the document and at the end of this third season, Donald Trump gets reinstated as president. That would just be the most baller move Disney could do because it would be hilarious.
Sure,
but tell me that wouldn't be hilarious. Tell me you wouldn't watch that. Would you watch that?
No, probably not.
You wouldn't watch that? You wouldn't think that would be hilarious? Dude, that would be the greatest. Like, if Disney wanted to really make money, that's what they would do. It would be freaking hilarious. But anyway.
No, if Disney wanted to make money, they would just stay out of social stuff publicly. They wouldn't say anything. They would just do it. Because then if you don't say anything, you don't alert people to it. Be like, oh, pay attention. First gay character, pay attention. Equality. People wouldn't care. People would be like, fuck yeah, dude. Fuck Winter Soldier's on, dude. Let's eat some popcorn. And they would just watch it and they would just accept it. Like they have in the past.
Maybe.
I mean, as much as all the people that constantly bitch about Disney and their work with China and everything are the same people that are constantly talking about whatever fucking product they put out. Stop watching it, people. Stop watching it.
No, but like to ignore it would also be stupid.
They just do it to complain about it. Like they know they're not going to like it.
Well, you got to make content.
But they don't do anything it's not like they're doing in-depth deconstructions of things.
What do you mean?
Like when they talk about like Disney shows, like especially to talk about the Marvel stuff. It's all very superficial things. Like my boy The Quartering, Jeremy from The Quartering. They released a cast picture for this Netflix Resident Evil series. It's a bunch of chicks and one black guy, and I like the actor, the black guy. He was cast as Albert Wesker, which doesn't make very much sense to have a black guy play that character because he's supposed to be like this like eugenics master race.
It makes sense today. Nation of Islam, they're black supremacists.
Maybe that's what Umbrella is now. They're part of the he was just like he made a video like immediately 20 minutes after like this thing comes out, and it's just like Disney or was it Netflix Resident Evil disaster, and you're like, I don't know, this hasn't been made yet. You're just responding to a picture.
Yeah, but he's making he's a content creator. Like,
no, I know that. I know that.
Things.
I know that, but that's what I'm saying. Like that treadmill of having to do that and respond to those things. It's just so ephemeral. Like it just doesn't even matter.
But how many times have you been disappointed because of woke shit in movies?
I don't watch them. I just don't watch them. Like I don't like.
I understand.
If it doesn't if it interests me, I will watch it. Period.
But I hear you.
It's just not like something that gets in the way. Like I got to be fair. Like it's somebody that really likes movies and storytelling, I got to be fair and be like, okay, well, is this like a well-written, constructed thing? You can do it well or you can do it bad. Like, and when people do it well, you don't notice. I mean, you like the Mayor of Easttown, right? You like that show?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty progressive show.
I guess.
Even just on its basic premise. It's a pretty progressive show.
Do tell.
What? Like even Kate Winslet's character. It's the same thing that not bitch about, but I've brought up before. When you just make a woman a man, she just acts like a guy. For most of this, like for the vast majority of her character traits, it's just like, oh, you're like a slobby dude. Oh, okay. And that's your character. I like that show well enough.
I don't know why that would be deemed progressive, but
it is. What are you talking about?
Why would that be progressive?
She takes the masculine role in the movie, and all of the dudes are like these simps, like these weak, gross pieces of shit. Every single one of them. Every single dude in that show. From her ex-husband to her partner. Like
they're good
Guy Pearce's character. Yeah, but they're all genteel. They're all soft boys. And she's like the rough and tough.
Well, it makes sense. That's what you
would swilling lumberjack.
But is it because she's a woman, or is this like to balance out her harshness with some soft people? Like, do you think that was deliberately planned?
No, I think that's just the way people write stories now. They just think that's just like what makes it a compelling narrative. It's not that when you really start thinking about it, you're like, well, that's not really an interesting dynamic. Like, there's not, because there isn't a lot of like difference in between any of these characters. They're all a variation on like, yeah, men are weak, dude. Men suck. They don't got what she needs.
I did not sense that, but
yeah, Dan, because you're not looking with eyes, buddy. Because nobody told you that was a woke show.
Well, it's not about it being woke.
That's what I told you. If it's well written and you like it, like you're not even gonna notice.
But it's not about that show. Has nothing to do with her being a woman, though, necessarily. She's not the main focus. Is not her gender. That has nothing to do with like the focus of the narrative or the show. Like, her boss doesn't go up to her like, listen, I get it. You're a fucking bitch. Okay? Well, and you need to go take a seat.
Well, maybe.
Yeah. No, you know what I mean?
No, like, it's not directly brought up in that way, but I would say the traditional dynamics between men and women are just reversed. It's just reversed. It's just something I notice sometimes. You notice it in commercials for fucking Swiffers. Like, it's just something that's... I'm
not going to deny it.
The subtle little thing that you will just see 1,000 times and never think about it, because if you're smart, you don't point it out. You don't bring it up. You just do it. And then if you get people like Kate Winslet involved, you get good actors, you get a decent script.
Yeah, but the strong matriarchal, like, that's a story arc that's been like, or that
all those men like abandon them. They're like abandoned women. What are you talking? Every fucking woman in that show
are like abandoned.
On their own, abandoned, they're alone, they're miserable.
Woman? No.
Whether it's like a lady who has cancer, it's the mother of well, I don't want to get into it, but her friend.
Yeah.
They have a thing at the end.
Yeah.
The woman who works at the gas station, you're like, what is I mean, these are reflections of real small town life and what women have to deal with. So it's okay to deal with that. It's okay to talk about that, obviously. But it just seemed very, very lopsided. It was just very lopsided in that sense. And I just noticed that.
What do you mean? Like the main fucking guy, like her partner guy.
Yeah.
He's a strong guy. I mean, he's a young man. He's
a beta, dude. Beta.
No, he's not a beta. He's just young.
He's a young guy trying to pick up a 55-year-old woman.
Smoking hot. Smoking hot, dude.
Everybody, they're also gentle and soft. And they're all happy.
She's running the show.
All the men are like happy. They have like no real no problems or responsibilities
that you think of.
Well, that they showed on the show. I mean, the biggest pain in the ass for her ex-husband is Mare. She's the biggest pain in the ass. And Guy Pearce character, he's like, no, whatever. Like, I'm just here. I'm cool. I'm a cool guy. I just kind of I'm here.
He's a cool guy. He's masculine. He's sexy. He's doing his thing.
Yeah. I like that show though. I did enjoy it. I would watch 10 seasons of Kate Winslet playing that character.
Yes, she's great. I guess it was, but I really just, I don't know. I don't know if I agree with what you said there, but you're not wrong. I think there's definitely some truth.
No, it's like what I said. We've talked about this 1,000 times with movies. It's like if it's well done, you don't notice, you don't care.
But it shouldn't be the focus. That's it. Like, it should not be the focus is that she's a woman. The focus should be that she's a good detective trying to do her job. And she's got her grief or whatever.
It could be part of her character's DNA.
Have you ever seen Stargate? That whole movie is about Kurt Russell coming to terms with his son's death.
Death, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And, Contact, same thing, basically.
It's all about dead kids. It's all about dead parents.
Yeah.
Can't get away from it.
But I'm telling you, I really do believe that there is something like Watchmen. You take a great platform to build from, and you turn it into some just junk. It's just junk.
Well, this is the problem. If Watchmen wasn't so on the nose, you wouldn't notice, you wouldn't care. I don't get juice because that's a parallel to what people say that was going on in the world right now. It's not that exciting to me. Maybe I'm just old and I've just read too much dystopian sci-fi and all that stuff. I don't know. But that show is just poorly written. Honestly, there are moments of that show that were good. There's some good characters. There's some good performances. It starts kind of getting more interesting towards the end.
No, I gave up about 4 episodes in.
Yeah, it was disappointing, I would say.
Disappointing, but bring it up.
The old Watchmen, if you were to think about when it came out, was pretty woke for its time. Things it was dealing with, the kind of the male-female dynamics and how those things operated, and the sexism, misogyny, the way science and elitism, anti-corporate, they had a lot of those elements in the story.
Yeah, but that's not being woke. That's being individualistic.
Yeah, but
idealistic.
Back when that came out, though.
I understand what you're saying, but that in itself was not being woke. That wasn't political correctness.
For the time it was. That's what I'm saying.
No, it wasn't.
In the context of time, it was.
So
that's why, I think the subject matter of the new Watchmen show is very much in line with the comic book Watchmen.
What year did it come out?
Late 80s? Mid 80s?
So late 80s, the book comes out, and I just don't. There's no way that is woke. To bring up, to broach ideas, to discuss
it's not
topics,
but it's not a literal one-to-one. In 1987, it came out. It's not a literal one-to-one. I'm saying it is the equivalent. At the time, that was pretty provocative. It was pretty shocking. People were not used to that in comic books. They weren't used to that in popular media in that kind of aggressive way. So it was a little transgressive, and that's kind of what they were going for with the new thing. Because back then, their version of Trump was Nixon. So Nixon is still the president in Watchmen because because of emergency powers and stuff. That's just that stuff was provocative at the time, And the new show tries to do that, and I just don't think it's not as thoughtful. It's very one note. It's very on the nose. It's just very preachy in a weird way.
Yeah, but it's like the idea of the liberal back then was individual freedom and expression of ideas and what
Alan Moore's a fucking nut, dude. So he's he thinks he's a wizard.
He thinks what?
He's a wizard.
He might be.
He's a warlock for real.
Yeah, but whatever. It's the individual expression, and that is what homosexuality, the morality of homosexuality to Christians and stuff was a completely different thing, and that was very pervasive in the system, so it was shocking. But that core sentiment of being a homosexual from the liberal side was about their choice. To be gay is their choice. It's whatever it is.
Oh, well, it's not a choice or their just disposition. They have a right to do what they want in the
It's their choice.
Yeah.
It's their choice.
Which is people, it's kind of shocking, but people don't really contextualize it like this. It's 2012. That's when people started becoming okay with gay marriage and stuff.
Oh yeah,
but it's not even that long.
recent.
It's a blip. It's
Well,
not
it
even
was
that
the
long.
political will was not there.
They ground
And
them down. It just over time. It was 30 years of media.
Trump was the first person to come in supporting LGBTQ people
I think,
and
yeah, as like a first time
expressing.
running. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he was the first political candidate to ever come out and win the
Just,
presidency
famously,
supporting gay marriage.
Hillary Clinton in 2008 when she was running, she defined marriage as between a man and a woman.
Yeah.
And
Oh, they're
that was,
just.
but
This
they
is
just that's just politics. That's bureaucrats. They just go with whatever the
they're not.
temperature is.
They're not bureaucrats, but they're definitely a reflection of the culture. They're going to go with what gets them to win. And that's just what it is. The bureaucrats, they'll never be displaced. Those people have been working in Washington, D.C., and the Pentagon, and DARPA, and all this for decades and decades. The guys that are running Raytheon and the bankers, they think it's a conspiracy theory to talk about, but the bankers and Wall Street have a lot of influence in this world. So if they have an agenda, which you go back to the Ford Foundation, the Gerald Ford Foundation, where they were really investing in Marxism and this type of stuff back in the early 1900s. They were super into it. They were super quote unquote woke. That's how they view what their version of woke was. Well, black people are poor and they're not really on the same level as us, so we should eradicate them. We should eliminate them from existence, which is where you have the birth of feminism, the right to vote. Mistake. We should never let women vote. They should forever
Dan does
be
not support
barred.
women's suffrage. Oh my god.
No, suffering is fine. Suffrage, no thank you. But you think of, they really were behind a lot of these. They supported Hitler. They supported Lenin. They supported all these big social figures, which is why the New York Times were put into Russia. They put the most left-leaning guy they could, the socialist, communist guy, to write all these articles. This is something that's been kind of an ever progressive. The progressive movement has been moving further and further left. The homosexual argument and the gay marriage, that was always a cover. That was always something. People forget it was the conservatives that really pushed a lot of the most progressive stuff in this country. It was the Republicans. They always fought for individual sovereignty.
Yeah, because people they just kind of paint a broad brush because of their, because a lot of them are corporatists and stuff like that. A lot of them will skew things for the favor of corporate America. But when it came to your individual rights, yeah, they were always kind of leaning on the side of more liberty, more freedom. I suppose some of them did. Some of them didn't.
Individual. No, they cared
there was
about
a
the
lot
individual.
There was a lot of religious ideological stuff. With Republican not presidents. What do you mean?
Like what? What do you mean? What
I don't
do you
know.
mean?
Like banning Harry Potter books from libraries and just stupid shit like that.
Who banned Harry Potter from libraries?
A bunch of people tried. I think it was Sarah Palin was one of them, I think.
Really?
Yeah, let me see. I could look it up.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can always have one-offs. You can always have crazies.
No, but it would always be stuff even the not allowing gay marriage. That was mostly a Christian thing.
Well, why is marriage even a legal thing anyway? Why does that have to be called marriage?
I agree. I wrote something years ago about actually when all this happened. I was like, this was an opportunity to ask the question why the federal government, why the state has anything to do with marriage, who you're allowed to marry. I mean, I understand there's a lot of things because there's benefits to it. There's tax stuff that's involved with it. Because there was a time where they wanted to incentivize people to get married, have kids, buy a house. And they would incentivize those things through taxes. But, so I assume that's probably a big part of the reason, I have to say. But we could at least ask the question. I'm sure somebody could explain it. But
I maybe.
But they shouldn't have the right to say on a level you're not allowed to marry this person. They
right,
shouldn't.
And they
period.
They
end of story. And they rectified it, and it took a long time to happen. It's just things happen slowly.
But how long? The avocation, it was 1967 when black and white people could legally get married, or interracial couples could marry.
Yeah. Actually, there's a movie about it. It's called Loving.
Yeah, Loving. Yeah, Loving v. Virginia, I think is what is the
Yeah.
case. But it's yeah, like it's not perfect. It's not a perfect. We passed the Civil Rights Act before fucking white and black people could get married. Like, we literally did. Like
I know.
there was still stuff to figure out. Jim
They're
Crow
like,
laws
whoa,
hung
whoa,
around.
whoa, hold on. They're like, hold on. Okay, you can go to school with us, but marrying us? Oh, I don't know, buddy. I don't
Well,
know.
the thing is, with the marriage issue, it is very religious oriented. You know, it's Christian sense. Like,
Yeah, because that's what it used to be. It used before it was the state. You would go to a church to get married. Although no, it's I mean, what is it, King George,
mm-hmm. Okay.
who made it a state thing? I could be wrong about the person's name, but I believe it was because they weren't really like traditionally religious.
Hmm.
Yeah, I know
Maybe.
one of the reasons why being a Protestant or Protestantism, whatever you want to call it, got mainstreamed is because I think it was King George. I could be wrong about
Yeah,
that, but
King Henry V, the one who wanted to
get a divorce.
get a divorce. Yeah,
Because
that's why.
his wife's breath was so bad when he went
Shut
to
up.
yeah, that's true.
No, it was because she wouldn't bear him a child.
Oh, dude, her breath was so fucking bad, dude. Her breath was so rank.
Shut up.
He walked in there and he was just like, "Get her out of here."
Get her out. Can't. You're married. But it's there needs to be this is what they're trying to do with these critical race theorists, people like Nicole Joan Harbor. They are trying to recontextualize and reorient history to facilitate political power and power, period. It's trying to restructure everything to be more equitable or whatever they say. But it's like gay people can get married now. It's over. You won. What more do you really want now? What rights does a straight person have over a gay person or a transgender person? What rights? What laws are in place that restrict them?
Well, I guess you could say the Florida sports ban.
No, that doesn't restrict them from participating in sports. It doesn't restrict them from participating. It says you have to go with your biological sex.
Yeah,
that's it. It's not restricting them.
Well, that's not the way they're going to look at it, and you know that.
But is it really restriction though? When you're still able to partake and do everything as normal.
I'm not suggesting because I'm not like pro I don't know why this is a thing for kids in high school, and it seems like it seems very like just messy territory. But they're gonna assume because that's their perception of reality and their bodies and who they are, and they want to be called by the other thing. They feel it's oppressive. I'm not saying I agree or disagree with that. The state has a
responsibility to. Well, no, like this is what I'm saying. If you want to live in an imagination land, whether you're straight or white, whatever, or black or whatever, or trans or not, everyone has their own version of reality. But like, I don't care if you think that you should not, a man that transitions to a woman should not be able to partake. You know what? Like she should not be able to partake with other women. One, if it's like combat sports.
Well, I think it has to be transparent. It has to be voluntary. Like you can't. I think people have a right to know that stuff, but I also think that's in the adult realm. I don't think the state should be making decisions for high school girls about what they're going to have to compete against in a way that might give somebody a huge advantage over them and then disenfranchise them. Like, I don't know. That doesn't seem right either. You know.
What doesn't seem right? What do you mean? Like, does it
taking opportunities away from young teenage girls in sports for scholarships?
Are you saying
for
trans girls? Or are you talking?
No, I'm talking about biological women or women
birthing people, Shaun.
I'm sorry, birthing people. Those that can birth, those that menstruate.
But if you have a kid, like you don't want your kid to be forced into something. It's
no, that's what I'm saying. Like if you're forced to compete in a situation where there's like and I'm saying this technically, like a abnormal advantage over the vast majority of the other players.
No, all of them. All of them.
Most of the time, yes.
99%.
Especially because if you're a teenager, you definitely haven't been on hormones, and you're definitely a lot of times they haven't done anything.
All the trans athletes are breaking records across, like they're destroying
I know.
like everything.
I know, I'm aware.
No,
I mean,
so
it's like
just,
I don't know, and the way they look at it is that it's like, well, that's too bad. It's our turn now, and things will change, and it'll get figured out. But we're gonna do it now.
Yep.
That's the way they feel about it. Because at like the end of the day, what is the project really? It is to erase the concept of men and women and be like these asexual creatures, and it's not going to matter anymore. Now, then they're not going to have like gendered sports at some point. That's probably going to happen at some point. I don't know if we'll be alive for it, but it'll probably happen.
I don't think it'll ever be able. Well, because
We're going to go
men would dominate everything.
And that's what
I say we get rid of men and women's sports, and we just have the United States Olympic team, and whoever the best is makes it. How about that?
We're not allowed to play any sports. Baseball.
No, seriously. Because
Football,
if this is the issue, the issue is this: everything will be unisex. There will be no men, women. It will just be athlete, races athlete A, races athlete B.
Yeah, but you could apply that to every sport.
Every sport, do it.
Yeah.
No, and guess what? Nothing would change. Everyone would still watch the NBA, and which are all men, and they're all gonna all these sports would be all men.
Well, because people think of it as like, oh, it's like a sexist thing. It's like, no, it's people. I think we've talked about this once before, but like men are just biologically, physically, are going to be able to do more impressive things as athletes.
But
it's just more. It's just, but it's just we can't. Yeah, but we can't give birth. But it's just more exciting for audiences to watch that because you're watching peak performance.
Yeah, that's what we're here for.
If you're watching women's sports, it can be exciting in its own right, and if you're invested in it and you like that stuff, but the physical feats are not going to be as impressive. They're just not. They're just not, and everybody knows that. That's why, Serena Williams can go fucking go up against for an exhibition match like a nobody dude and fucking lose.
Fucking smashed. You get smashed.
Or the women's soccer team getting beaten in a scrimmage by high school boys. I mean, you're just like,
that's fucking awesome.
I mean, you're just like, okay. What are we talking about? Like, this is
but the thing, it's the equivalent of, you drag racing a 1996 Honda Accord versus a Lamborghini. Like, it's just no comparison. Well, they're completely built for different things.
Yeah, there's certain things that probably don't matter. And and I think a lot of people have this perception because technology has kind of flattened the curve for a lot of daily life for what men and women compete for with jobs and stuff. Now a lot of it's the same stuff, whereas before it wasn't. There was a more clear delineation because if you were a guy, you had to do jobs that were more physically demanding, et cetera, et cetera. Women generally would gravitate to things that were more intellectually demanding.
Intellectually?
Yeah, organization skills and all that kind of stuff.
Women should not be educated. They should never be taught, really. They should go to homesteading class, learn how to...
They should be 4-H members.
No, homesteading. They need to be able to run a home. They need to be able to drill a well. I want my women strong.
Yeah.
Maybe teach them to cook or something. Because
I think people notice that in society, and they think they can apply it everywhere ubiquitously. When we're not really talking about that, because when you're talking about sports or whatever, it's not really augmented by technology per se, in the same way that an office job is.
It's like chess. Women can be great chess players, but men generally are at the higher end of competition. They are, Queen Gambit can try to be all day
That's just because women have not been allowed into the party, Dan. There's not a lot of women chess players. You see Queen's Gambit? Man, she had to put up with a lot of crap, Dan.
She really did, and she got to get fucked by everybody. It was awesome times, but fun.
She fucked that fat kid from Harry Potter.
It was sick.
That's the Dursley boy.
I don't remember. I don't remember that scene. I don't know.
You know Harry Potter, right? You know the kid
Yeah, I
who
know.
plays his cousin?
Yes.
Little fat kid?
Yes.
He's like the little soft boy that has a crush on her and then stays at her house for a while.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah,
That's
then they
him,
bang
dude.
and stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Huh.
That's true. I'm just saying, we need to. The best way to protect our planet is to make sure women become farmers. And this is I'm just advocating for women farmers across the United States. And child slave labor should come back. Like, we need our kids strong.
Yeah.
China's taken over because of all the slave labor, and they've created a super race of people.
I mean, basically, have you ever seen the movie Snowpiercer?
Yes.
When I saw that little kid in the gears, greasing and keeping it clean and keeping the train moving, I was proud.
Yeah, you're like, God
I
damn
thought,
right.
I hope that's my son someday. Literally saving humanity.
I mean, but it is kind of bullshit. You can't, make your 12-year-old work or something, Go get a fucking job. Yeah,
I had a job when I was 12, but I worked for, family. But
right, but I think that's really where your individualism is really forged in those moments of having to work and be alone and just have to just do a menial task, something as simple as cleaning a cage or watering and feeding, taking care of animals, sense of responsibility. Those things are really, really important for young developing minds. But there needs to be an understanding here. Like, I'm dead serious. I'm not playing their language games anymore. I'm not going to play. Like, if I'm talking to someone and they're like, oh, I'm an anarcho-communist, I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like, I don't want to shut the fuck up. You're stupid. And I'm one of my good friend's brothers, he had to escape from this country because he was selling drugs and shit, like doing illegal shit.
Mhm.
Okay? Doing his fucking thing. And the guy is going to criticize America? I'm like, bro, shut the fuck up. You're not even American anymore. Like, you're nothing. Like, you're mad at the country that, and it wasn't because he was stupid. It's because he learned this shit in college about anarcho-communism, and he thinks he's super smart and that he's better than everybody and this and that. And it's like, you've been exiled, bro. You've been exiled because you can't do the time because you decided to commit a crime. Do I think that is bullshit? But it's all these fucking people with all these crazy. What is so hard about America? What's so crazy about America? We have problems for sure, policing and laws and all these things. Just stop stop kowtowing to these this 12% of people in the United States and these woke corporations. It would all probably disappear.
Well, no, I mean, those corporations are only being led by whatever subsect of culture they're paying attention to. I mean, they're not doing these things out of some sort of altruistic endeavor.
No, I know, but what? That's what I'm saying. If people just said, you know what, I'm not gonna go see this new Disney movie because of this bullshit. But
that's literally what it takes. It takes individuals making those decisions, writ large,
which is why organization is important.
And it doesn't, and people don't actually care. That's what I'm talking about. Like about what I was saying earlier. Like, you have all these people that talk about these evil Disney and stuff like that. Yeah, they're the first ones lining up, fucking getting the service, watching the shows, going to see the movies. You're like, okay, you're just feeding this thing. That's all you're doing. People hate watch things all the time, but you still got to pay the money. You got to put the money down to do that, and a lot of people will. And it's just a cycle.
We got Transformers stopped being made. Even Transformers was stopped.
No, it wasn't. Not really. Not really.
I mean, it's pretty much over.
It was just because they didn't have the resources anymore. Michael Bay moved on. I mean, they tried. It's coming back again. They had to let it cool off. They did 5 movies in 10 years.
Fast and Furious 9 is going to take a 10-year hiatus. Vin Diesel's going to be even heavier.
I heard
just even less giving a fuck.
I heard even Fast and Furious fans did not enjoy it. So
this new one?
It could spell the end for Fast and Furious.
Honestly, thank God.
At least being a giant thing. Well, no, but you make 10 of anything, people are like, oh, you kind of take it for granted. You're just like, whatever.
Maybe. For sure.
I mean, I've watched all of the movies.
I haven't. I think I've seen up to 7 or something.
Oh, I never watched Hobbs and Shaw. I
think I actually watched Hobbs and Shaw. That's just trash.
I was done at that point. I was like, I'm over this. It's just not. not entertaining to me. Like I don't need CGI cars are not fun for me. As soon as they're like flying through the air like superheroes, I was like, okay.
Okay.
Because at least back in the day, like when they were first 5 or 6 of them, at least it was like real car racing. Like it was real stuff with cars, and that stuff's cool. Like I like stunt work just as much as the next person. Awful movies, but the stunts were incredible. A lot of cool stuff. Did.
It was pretty cool, practically, and it was pretty neat. But
even even the Transformers, I don't really like those movies, but I really love watching how they made them. Very like Michael Bay is a very good director. Doesn't always pick good material to direct, like Transformers. And his instincts he's so immature. He's so fucking he's such a weird guy.
I mean, he makes money, dude.
But the way he shot that stuff is impressive.
It's awesome.
The set pieces, the way that they like actually integrated CGI with practical stuff. Like there's real explosions, there's real cars flipping. So when you see a Transformer fucking barreling down the street and their cars are flipping all over the place, they're really flipping those cars. It's kind of cool.
It is pretty neat. I'm excited for Avatar 2, 3, 4, and 5. James Cameron's gonna blow the fucking lid off this motherfucker because they're moving to the LED technology stuff like Disney's doing. So it's a pretty cool. I get from what rumors.
I'm curious how that's gonna work because like all the characters are CGI except.
No, that will still be there, but they won't have to spend as much money.
Well, yeah, I mean the technology's got to be way cheaper at this point. I mean, this is the problem with Avatar. Like he makes Avatar, he has to invent a new camera system, a new technology, how to make it, and then doesn't do anything for a couple years, and then all that stuff's out of date. Now we got to go back to the drawing board and
I guess that's one reason the movie was supposed to come out in 2022 or 2020. Maybe might have been this year. It was supposed to come out, and it got pushed back. The second one.
The hot rumor is that they're trying to do 3D without having to wear glasses.
Yeah, that would be pretty fucking crazy, huh?
Yeah, it would be crazy.
That'd be pretty fucking sick. That would just be awesome for normal
people. Do you
people.
remember what? Did you? Have you ever seen Avatar, the first one?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay, dude, I worked with a guy, just a meathead guy, and he fucking loved Avatar. He literally said to me, "I want to live on Pandora."
Yeah. Want to live there, man.
Because there's people. Apparently, there was all these news stories about people getting severe depression because Pandora didn't exist.
Well, I mean, they'll fucking you can't trust the news, Shaun. It was probably one guy. It was probably a dude you worked with. Emailed some dude from the New York Times. It's like I'm super
sad.
impressed.
I can't be a part of.
And they're like, we have recent events where many people, like this is just it's all.
I remember Dad was kind of pissed at me because I had we tried to go see it like earlier in the day, couldn't get tickets. Then we just like bummed around Augusta for a couple hours to watch the next showing, and it was like a full pack theater. And I kind of insisted that we stay, and then the movie sucked, and he's just like, "The fuck, man." He said, "I thought you said it was good." I was like, "That's what I read."
That's what I read, man, and it was all lies.
It's like it's Pocahontas and
it
Dances with Wolves.
Or Fern Gullies as well.
It's got a lot of strong
yeah, I've heard Fern Gullies is one of the big ones. Now, it's just something to be said. I think about basically everything we talked about tonight is take the power back that they're trying to, like the words, take this fucking shit. Even if you're at work, like just refuse. Like, no, I'm not going to fucking acknowledge my whiteness, you fucking racist. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, oh, you gotta, no, go fuck yourself. Like, even, people don't realize that. It's even in the military. Like, I was talking to my buddy, and I'm like, he's like, dude, I just didn't give a fuck about it. And I just sat there, and I just didn't give a fuck about it, and I went home. And I'm like, that's fair. I get that, But my buddy was a cop. He's like, yeah, dude, they make us do some slideshow shit. Everyone ignores it, and you just go on about your day. That's what a lot of people are doing to get by.
Yeah, it's corporate training. It's just like when you get a job at any corporate thing, you have to go through like a...
And now the gays can get married. Don't you see how far it goes?
Well, part of it used to be all about sexual harassment in the workplace. Like when I was coming of age and getting jobs and stuff, you would have to watch videos like as your orientation and take tests about sexual harassment in the workplace and what it means to be inappropriate and stuff. They'd field you questions. It was definitely. Some people took it seriously, though.
I think you're always going to find. That's what I was saying. People need to. One, we may have to do some sort of revolution again. It might happen.
I don't know.
No, and I mean a real revolution, like a revolution of the internet, a revolution of people that is really about just sovereignty.
I think there's a lot, especially when it comes to the internet, people just being irritated with how
censor and everything needs to be
how censorious
and
and almost like authoritarian it is, and like YouTube has gotten out of control. Actually, I was watching the white underbelly interviews.
Yeah,
the guy
I know.
who did
Soft white underbelly.
Soft white underbelly. Yeah, he's just like, I can't get views, I can't get memberships. He's like, I don't know what to do.
Because he tried to do Patreon or something, and then.
Well, no, he said he doesn't want to do Patreon because he thinks it's an extra barrier. But I think he's wrong about that. I think most people would be probably into supporting somebody that does his kind of work on Patreon.
Yeah, I don't know his politics. Good. Like, I don't care what
he does great work. I mean,
awesome.
I could literally sit there and watch that for like 10 hours.
Yeah,
like just people talking about their lives.
Yeah, it's
unencumbered, intimate.
Yep, very simple. You know, it's good. It's because he's actually honestly intrigued by them and inquisitive and he actually gives a shit.
He's actually like a real journalist, real documentarian. Yeah,
that is a journalist. That is what you do. You're on the ground. You're doing your shit.
You're there
not fucking Brian Stetler.
Their story, not your version of their story.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know what you're all about.
Well, I mean, it's important to take the time to really think on the problems that you feel like you're confronted with in your life, with your family and in the workplace or wherever. And honestly, just critically think, though. And then when someone says to you, because of your sex, gender, sexual orientation, race, whatever, once they start bringing that shit up at the workplace, you be like, stop. I don't need to talk. Is this about the fucking job? Does this have to do with my job? Then I don't need to talk to you about it.
Yeah, and then that
political stuff.
No, and then people are going to have to, you're going to have to make sacrifices if you want to fight that. But a lot of people are just not in positions to, like your friends, like they're not really in positions to be able to do much about it. So they just kind of have to, like, well, I need my job. This is a requirement for my job. And they'll sit there and not pay attention and think it's bullshit. But I think there's some truth to what you're saying. I think people, and sometimes the internet does this, it blows things up way too big, and it stops people from dealing with. But what I'm saying is it stops people from dealing with these kind of issues on a more local level, just with their friends, their family, their workplace, their local communities. That's when you can go and actually make probably a real change. Like, trying to change it from the top down is never going to work. It's just not going to.
No,
it has to be a cultural shift. It has to be. There's just like in the same way that culture, well, the manufacturers of culture, the people that are trying to socially engineer, that's where they're trying to steer us in that direction. Well, people have to take it upon themselves to move away from that. Unfortunately, I don't know. I just don't think most people are paying attention with any like great.
You're a nihilist, though. That's just the way you.
I'm not a nihilist.
John, you are one of the most negative people when it comes to like social issues and people. You don't believe in people.
Do I believe? I believe in people to a certain extent, but I don't have faith. Like everybody needs good examples, good leadership. That's why I'm always about like having mentors, fathers, mothers, like that are actually actively engaged, help guide people, give them a good foundation, give them that kind of integrity, that kind of strength. That's where it starts. If you want to make a change in the world, it's got to start there.
No, I think that's definitely one of the biggest parts.
And that's where really my focus is. But when I go out and I just talk to like regular folks that are my age, younger, like oftentimes most people they're too busy. They got jobs, they got kids, they got lives. They don't have time to sit and watch 4-hour YouTube videos. Like they don't.
They do, but they just
or they choose not to. They're not in the habit of doing that.
How do you think so many like white Republican women got radicalized by Q? Because they had a lot of time in their hands.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
I mean, quarantine time, that was a big testing ground to see what the internet will manifest in the real world.
that might have been it.
Yeah. When
Hey,
you have people living a completely virtual life experience, everything is virtual, had some pretty negative consequences.
I think before we end this, because we are running a little bit long today, but I think this is pretty funny. So G7 is the summit that's going on right now. It's like the most globalist fucking agenda shit, probably next to the Bilderberg Corporation. But Biden gave a gift to Boris Johnson, who is the Prime Minister of England, right? It's a $6,000 Boris bike, complete with a blue helmet bearing the American flag and the British flags. The bicycle is handmade by a Philadelphia-based Blinkley Cycle Works and is and apparently a remake of the classic English 3-speed and lightweight form. Now, that's pretty cool, right? That's a pretty cool gift to give somebody.
Did he give him a little cap with a fucking
no.
little rotating
but
thing?
Boris gave a gift to Biden. Johnson gave Biden a framed photo of anti-slavery campaigner Frederick Douglass printed out from Wikipedia.
That's a baller move, if you ask
Like,
me.
that's kind of like, oh no, dude, Biden's about to go meet Putin. Oh, dude, it is.
Putin's gonna drop $5 on the ground and just go like this. He's just gonna be like,
I think Biden.
"Oh, I was supposed to give you a gift. Well, let's see what I have here." And he just throws out a couple dollars.
A 7-year-old or something, and fucking that'll be it. Off the.
Like, if Boris Johnson did that kind of power move, now Putin's gonna have a real power move. Putin
bring a gift.
He finds out somebody doesn't like dogs, so he'll bring his dogs.
Really nice
dog. No, not a gift. He did this to a person. Somebody, I guess, that was like definitely.
It was Merkel from Germany.
Angela Merkel, and then he had his dog. His giant German shepherds kept coming in the room, and he's like, "Oh, I love my dogs," and like feeding them treats and stuff.
Yep.
Guy's a fucking maniac.
Honestly, no, that's smart business, dude. That's what you do. It's psychological terror. I like it. But anyway, leave us comments and stuff and all that stuff. Subscribe, share. You won't, but you should, because you're fucking douches and you need to. Go to Spotify. Go on there, man. Like,
we're everywhere. We're on Google Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple.
Yeah.
We have an Odyssey channel. You should check us out over on Odyssey.
I've never even been there. I don't expect you to, but
I would say that is like where, if things get taken off of YouTube, they will be put back up on Odyssey. So when I do nightcaps and they disappear from YouTube, they're over on Odyssey, which happens occasionally. So it's a backup. And it's cool. I think, it's always good to support alternative video hosting sites. Like, we give the monopoly to YouTube as users. There are other things we could go use.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
you have to be willing to deal with the jankiness of somebody that's starting something. You have to be willing to deal with that.
Yeah, for sure. You gotta
support that. They're all like, it's like, because it's a lot like DLive, where it's all like the blockchain. They got their own crypto.
Yeah.
They have library tokens, they call them.
Yeah. It's like the lemon economy, but
worse.
And
you earn them by uploading videos and sharing videos.
It sounds like a good time.
And you can automatically put videos behind paywalls. That's an option.
Oh, that's different.
So you can be like, yeah, give me 1,000 library tokens and you can watch my video.
Yeah.
Some real premium content. We could do that if we do movies. If we watch movies and talk about them while we watch them, we could put them on. We could give me $5.
Yeah,
watch it with us.
That would actually be kind of a good idea. Maybe we should start doing that. Let us know what movies you guys think we should watch, and maybe Shaun and I can get on some stuff like that.
We'll go watch Tariq Nasheed's Buck Breaking.
Oh my god, yeah. Oh, that sounds so hot.
You know what it's about, right? Do you know what Buck Breaking is about?
I've only seen it had gay chains or something around. Yeah.
It's like about basically the secret gay mafia trying to feminize black men.
Yeah, makes sense.
And something a lot of high-profile black celebrities have talked about. Dave Chappelle being one of them.
Got to put a dress on and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and he wouldn't do it.
You know what's up? Tupac was going to get fucked in the ass by, that famous father-in-law.
Yeah. What's his name? Quincy Jones.
Quincy Jones, dude, that guy definitely wanted to fuck him in the ass. Sure.
I saw that. I think I saw that on a YouTube video at one
Yeah,
point.
me too.
Yeah.
I think you shared it with
I
me.
probably did. Yes.
It was a Tupac
There used to
conspiracy.
be all of these videos, like all of these a lot of like black like Christian guys
Breaking down Tupac.
make these really long, in-depth like breakdown analysis of like hip hop culture and music videos, and they would always talk about like the secret societies and stuff. They're like, "You like Denzel Washington? The guy got gang raped so he could get into the club. They don't let anybody in the club unless you be willing to give up." That's why. What's his name? What's his name? Black comedian freaked out.
Martin Lawrence.
Martin Lawrence. They say that about him, but also the little short dude used to talk about pimping. Cat Williams. Cat Williams. They say the same thing about Cat Williams. Cat Williams has also intimated a lot of freaky stuff that he experienced at Hollywood parties, and the way he described it being like eyes wide shut. And you're going deeper into the house, the weirder it gets.
Yeah. I don't doubt it. I bet that's just real. But anyway,
but if you want to be part of the elite, you got to get gang raped on tape.
That's what they say.
That's what
this is definitely getting taken down from YouTube. So.
Anyway, on Odyssey.
Yeah. Please come back. All right, guys.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Zoobox, a podcast about nonsense, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
But she's not there.